Welcome to the Orange County Forum, where newsmakers keep you informed about local, national, and global issues that impact Orange County today.
I've always thought that Darrell Steinberg was the poster child for what's wrong with term limits because of his incredible talent and skill and the bipartisanship he has brought to Sacramento. Elected to Sacramento as into the Senate in 2006, but of course he also was in the Assembly from 1998 and 2004, and he was sharing with us at lunch that this, at the end of this term, will have been 20 years of devoted public service. And I don't know if he included being the mayor of Sacramento in those 20 years as well, because he has just been an incredible individual. I felt particularly attached with Darrell when I saw that he received the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award from the very prestigious Kennedy Foundation. I entered politics in high school, working as a volunteer in the John Kennedy for President campaign, and that's how I had my first involvement. So the fact that he received the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award, I have an original edition of the book. I look forward to the supplement on the chapter on you, Darrell, that I assume they're going to add to the publication. But he got that award because he had to deal with, in 2009, the most incredible budgetary issues that California had faced in its entire history, and they were momentous, and he handled them in a momentous way. But he handled them in the same way he's handled water issues, urban sprawl issues, all the other major public issues, and I cannot think of anybody that I am prouder of to say as a friend, but not too close of a friend because I don't want to drag your career down, Darrell. But I do want you to know that he does symbolize what's great about public service and why the rest of us go out and become lawyers and sue people and do things. And he's there in public service, and he's a bright, talented person who could have been a great lawyer, but has chosen public service, and that is absolutely a tribute to what he does and a profession that we should all look up to. With great pleasure, I present to you Senator Darrell Steinberg.
Thank you, Wylie. Thank you very, very much for that very warm introduction. It really, oftentimes when I get introduced for speeches, people read the bio off the website, and it's always nice when it's from the heart here. And Wylie reminds me of the fact that people ask me what I do, and I tell them, of course, I'm a politician. I'm the president of the state senate, and when they look at me a little askance, I say, but I'm a lawyer too. And the truth of the matter is, when you stop and think about it, both politics and law are really two of the most honorable professions, pursued in the right way and in the correct way. And I'm actually proud to be both a politician and a lawyer, and have been most privileged to have had 18 years now, in my 19th year, to serve the public and pursue the causes that I believe in, and to help heal rifts and wounds and to try to make things better in our great state of California. I thank you, Wylie, and I thank the Orange County, the people of Orange County, really, and the Orange County Forum. If you had told me 19 years ago, when I started out as a young liberal city councilman from Sacramento, that I would ever feel so welcome in Orange County, I would have said, what are you talking about? I just have no idea. And yet, over the years, in part because of people like Lucy Dunn and Wylie and others, I have always felt, Nick Berardino, and I have always felt welcome here. And I've always felt like even when we have had disagreements on issues that it had always been the way it should be, which is civil, which is serious, and always trying to find solutions to real problems. And so it's great to be back in OC, and I'm actually not the most prominent Steinberg in Orange County, because I have a younger brother Rick Steinberg, who's the rabbi at Congregation Sher HaMalot, which is just a couple miles away from here. And he tries to stay out of politics, and my politics certainly, but he's a really good guy. So if anyone's looking to join a synagogue, I get no referral fee, by the way. So, Wylie's joke about don't worry, I'm to the right of Wylie actually leads me to sort of an introduction for my talk here today. And I want to welcome the young people, by the way, Fullerton. Let me just say that, because one of the great joys in my public life is to be able to speak to young people. I love people of all ages, actually, but and now being middle-aged myself. But I really enjoy the interaction in the Capitol, outside the Capitol, with young people, because I swear to God, if I never would have thought when I was your age that I'd be standing up here and doing the things that I get to do. And adults often say that time really goes fast and it flies by, and it's so true. And live your dreams, do what you want to do, make sure that work, whatever you choose for your work, is fun and interesting, and try to make a difference in the world, whatever you believe in, and you can do it. And I'm testament to that, as well as so many others in this room. But back to Wylie for a moment, because it's about Wylie. He said I was to the right, and so you didn't have anything to worry about. Well, I'm not sure that's actually true when it comes to my own beliefs, my own values, my own politics. But we have different jobs. And I have a job as an elected official, and certainly President Pro Tem, where I have to constantly find that intersection between fighting for what I believe in and getting things done. Because you can have any belief in the world, and 35 cents will get you a cup of coffee out of a vending machine if you hang around the Capitol long enough. But what really matters in the end is whether or not you're able to produce something for the people that you represent and the people of California. And for all of the great stories and the memories and the relationships that you make in public life, really I hope that when I'm done, and I hope I'm not done for a while, but when I am done, that I'll be able to look back and actually see product, things that changed because I put my energy into a topic or into a cause. And so it is true that when I took over as president of the Senate in late 2008, some might say that I drew the short straw on the deal, because within a month of my ascending to this high position, the state budget deficit ballooned to $42 billion with a $100 billion base budget. It was rather absurd, frankly. The challenge that we faced to try to cut and or raise taxes to the tune of literally almost half of the state budget. And we won that Profile and Courage Award. I don't know that I was deserving, really. I actually think the Republicans were more deserving than I was, because they actually voted for temporary taxes. I voted for deep cuts. I kept my job. They lost their jobs as a result of their votes. And yet, in 2009, we participated in a very imperfect negotiation that saved the economy of the state. I really say that, all humility aside. And the trajectory of the state budget deficit has gone down ever since. 42 billion, 26 billion, 19 billion, 11 billion, and now with more cuts and Proposition 30, a balanced budget in California. Now that means many things. It certainly means that there is some, and I don't want to overstate it, but some renewed confidence in California and its ability to govern itself. I've been traveling across the country a little bit, and 4 years ago when I traveled to Washington or New York or any place else, they'd roll their eyes when you said you were an elected official from California. Ungovernable, 2/3 supermajorities, this initiative process, way out of control. They can't get their budget under control. And now, in my most recent trips, people want to know, Congress is all messed up. They can't get their act together. Sequester, they can't pass a budget, much less deal with big issues that face the country. Maybe that will change with immigration reform. I sure hope so. And in California, we actually have, again, imperfectly, but we have worked through this mess. And I'm telling you, we are committed to not going back again to that kind of deficit, which means we need to be prudent. While I want to reinvest in all that has been lost, I recognize that that has to happen, if at all in some areas, very slowly. But we have now a bright future. And it's not just the confidence, renewed confidence that people have now in California. And again, it's not perfect. Our approval ratings are still pretty low, but not as low as they were. It also frees us up now to work on a whole host of public policy issues that frankly have been set aside for a long time because of the focus on the budget crisis. I mean, yes, we can chew gum and tie our shoes at the same time. And we tackled a lot of things during the budget crisis, like a historic water agreement in 2009. It has freed us up to work on a whole host of things that have been not ignored, but where the political energy and the time and the attention just couldn't be paid. And so maybe it's because I only have 20 months left. Maybe it's because we don't have that distraction of a budget deficit. But between the governor's small I initiatives and legislative initiatives, we are tackling California's continuing challenges, I think, on all fronts. And let me highlight a couple that are of interest to, I think, the business community and the people of Orange County. I'm a very strong environmentalist. I believe in the California Environmental Quality Act. I think it is a great law, and yet I think it's been, in some instances, too many instances, misused. And so even though I'm probably not winning a friend in the process, I'm authoring SB 731 and trying to accomplish a modernization of the CEQA law. And this is, thank you, Lucy. Now, here's the deal in politics. Okay, so the environmental community and organized labor thinks I'm going way too far. And the business community thinks I'm not going nearly far enough. I believe that we can find the elusive middle ground between those who believe that the statute should never be touched because there is no problem, and those who believe it's irretrievably broken and needs to be completely revamped. And that's what I intend to do. And what we have put out as a first draft has gained some mixed reaction, but basically I would like to take some parts of an analysis for a big land use project, traffic, noise, aesthetics, take them out of the CEQA process and allow them to be standardized by the local governments. And if the noise threshold is okay, and if the aesthetics are approved by the city or the county, and if the traffic level of service and the parking is all determined as appropriate by the city or county, no CEQA lawsuit on those issues. I think we can do the same thing on greenhouse gas emissions. I think we can provide actual exemptions for infill projects. I think we can allow recently approved land use plans, like specific plans, to be used in lieu of a new CEQA analysis for a project if there's no new, information that changes what occurred in the planning process earlier. I want to reform the litigation process so a judge could say, yes, there's an environmental violation and problem here, but it can be fixed while the project goes ahead. I'd like to give the judge that discretion. So we're tackling CEQA reform. We will see where it goes. But, you know, my view is that if it's not a little controversial, if it's not difficult, it's probably not worth doing. Anybody can just, as I say, press the red or the green button. But I like to tilt against windmills. It makes the job more interesting. And then there's water, which is a huge issue to Southern California. And I know that there's a tremendous education effort that needs to continue to go on about why is this delta, this estuary in Northern California so important to the people of Southern California? Because it is the way water is conveyed from Northern to Southern California, and the delta is in trouble. In 2009, it's fragile, its ecosystem is dying, and its levees are shaky. If there's an earthquake or any kind of other natural disaster, the water supply to Southern California and to Northern California could be seriously jeopardized, jeopardizing our economy. So in 2009, Senator Cray and I and our colleagues passed historic water legislation where we basically said, all right, there is going to be a debate about what used to be called the peripheral canal. We don't call it that anymore because that was a loser back in 1982. But we're going to have to allow for the building of some pumps around the delta to maintain water supply reliability for the state. And at the same time, we're going to have to invest billions in restoring the ecosystem and the levees in the delta. And now we are hard at work. And the administration has this legal process going forward known as the BDCP. And it is going to determine, in some ways, California's water future. And if we can get the excessive partisans to the side and focus on not just the size of the tunnels, but the actual rules governing the flow of water from Northern to Southern California and elsewhere, I think we can come to an agreement that will move California and its economy forward. Third example, and maybe the one I'm most passionate about, is public education. So I have a different view on education reform than most people. And so here's what happens in politics in California. Everybody loves a fight, right? That's what's fun about politics. Everyone loves a fight. And so the education reform debate now is, should it be easier or not easier to fire struggling teachers or teachers who don't belong in the profession? And I would assert to you that that is an important issue. It is relevant. There are some instances where teachers stay where they shouldn't go, or they shouldn't stay. There are also many instances of good, well-intentioned teachers who aren't getting the support that they need in order to succeed in the classroom. But what frustrates me is I believe we are debating the wrong definition of education reform, because there are far more important issues than the proxy fight between whether you like the union or think the union is the problem. The real issue, there are many issues, but the real issue to me is, what are we teaching our kids, especially in middle and high school, and how are we teaching it? Are we making a connection between high school, middle school, and high school curriculum and this so-called new economy of the 21st century? Are we developing curriculum that is both academically rigorous and applied to careers? And I would assert to you that the answer across the system is no. We are not doing nearly enough to connect public education curriculum and what we expect young people to do once they graduate. And I would also assert that while there is no silver bullet or answer to all of our problems, if there is one answer to solving the education crisis in this state, it is making that connection and also inducing leading high-wage industries in California to actually invest in California's high schools and community colleges to make that better connection. We've got 90,000 kids dropping out of high school every year. And we've got thousands of kids who are graduating who need remedial education when they get to either the community colleges or the state colleges. And There are many reasons. One is that kids who come from poor backgrounds don't always have the foundation. They don't get the preschool. They fall behind early. But what are we doing to engage kids when they get to that key moment in their lives? And it can be as early as 14 or 15, where they decide, I'm either checking in or I am checking out. I hear endless stories from business leaders who say California is not producing nearly enough educated and trained graduates for the 21st century workforce. And so I have an idea. Last year, the governor signed my bill after 2 years of struggle that limited standardized test scores in high school to no more than 60% of a high school's academic performance index. The other 40% have to be graduation rates and measures relating to college and career readiness. And why was that bill so important? Because if 100% of your performance is measured by standardized tests, then the curriculum is going to be based on teaching to the test. It's not going to be broadened. It's not going to be career focused. Now the 40% is going to be based on what you're doing to actually engage students beginning in 2015. So that's a foundation, but this year I want to go a step farther. And this is either a very liberal, lefty idea, or it's a very conservative, libertarian. I don't know. You will tell me. So here it is. I say we make it more profitable for leading California industries to invest in California high schools than a Wall Street hedge fund. And what do I mean by that? I say, and I'm promoting in my Senate Bill 594, that California float bonds to its leading high-wage industries that are willing to invest the bond proceeds in California's high schools, especially in those areas with high unemployment and high dropout rates. And those bond proceeds be used to work with public educators to develop the rigorous career-based curriculum for that particular industry, that the money also be used for internships, for mentorships, for after-school and summer jobs, for scholarships for young people, either to college or professional licensing programs, for professional development, for teachers. And if that academy project is a success at a given high school, within a district or within a region, and we can show that that investment resulted in a lower dropout rate, lower unemployment rate, more young people working in summers and ultimately full-time once they graduate from college or get that license, that we give that industry its full principal back on their bond, plus a rate of return higher than what they could earn if they took that same $500,000 or $1 million and put it into a traditional Wall Street financial instrument. Why is it, and Orange County, by the way, is a leader when it comes to this career education. I mean, I did my homework here in preparation for this speech, of course. You've got 22 high schools that participate in the Career Tech Education Partnership. You've got 1,000 businesses, almost 1,000 business partnership members. There's a lot of good stuff, but I would argue, I would assert that we are only at the very beginning evolution of this career academy movement, that the industry involvement is not as sustained or as systemic as it should be if we're going to be serious about education and the workforce and combining the two. My lead staff member on this issue just got back from Switzerland, where she looked at the way Switzerland does this. And what's fascinating about it is that they don't track kids. If a young person wants to be a construction worker or a health technician, as opposed to a doctor or a CPA, the curriculum that they're required to take in high school for the tech path is sufficiently rigorous that the courses are permeable, if you will. So that if that student chooses in their junior year that they want to instead, in the Swiss counterpart, if we did this in California, that they wanted to go to the CSU or the University of California, they would have taken the courses that would enable them to switch and take a different path. And so I'm upset that I only have 20 months left, because I don't think I'm going to get all this stuff done in all of this period of time. And that's only the beginning. I desperately want to restore funding for California's lost mental health system. So many people need help. We're doing some great things in California, including Orange County. You've got a great mental health director, Mark Refowitz, and Lou Correa has been a leader in this area as well. But there are so many people and families who need help. But that's for my next speech before the Orange County Forum. Suffice it to say, for now, that it's a lot of fun to be able to be on the front end and in the middle of so much that is interesting and important in this state. And we recognize, both Lou and I, for whom we work. We work for you. I say that to fourth graders who come in. You talk about young people. I always give them the same little quiz. I always say to them, all right, you see that sign? It's Darrell Steinberg, President Pro Tem. Do you know who I work for? And the first answer is always, it used to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now it's Jerry Brown, and then it's Barack Obama, and then they go, and I always use it as a little civics lesson in the end to tell them the truth. I said, I'm looking at who I work for. I work for you. We work for you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
The Orange County Forum is brought to you through the generous support of the Orange County Register and our sustaining partners. For more information about the Orange County Forum, call 949-588-9884. The Orange County Forum is a nonprofit organization. Your contributions are tax deductible.